Well, we swung through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And every single one of them bonused their the railway. They're invested in their railway, whatever, by building track. And we see the train building is up in the red, which means nobody can do that anymore. We're seeing up to Clarksburg with the B&O, to Roanoke with the C&O. The NYC had the bonus of having 2 people holding shares of it, so they both built track for it and gave it a jump, getting it not that far from where the Penn is, but the Penn also has 2 people, one of which played, getting them through Pittsburgh, which is huge. So now it has a $15 income. That's probably its big bonus at this point is, hey, I got Pittsburgh. That is one of the most important places, I'd say, in location-wise. Of course, Chicago is tremendously valuable as well, but that's far, far away. But Pittsburgh's bonus is, yeah, it's $4 now, which is big, but it also increases faster than the others do, which means it takes less effort to improve. Big bonus for the Penn because they were able to get there. All right, well, now somebody holding the second share of the Penn is up, and he's got to think because there's not a ton of money on the Penn right now. So he may want to try to float another share of it, possibly with intention of buying it himself, or improve the Penn, or get a little bit of cash by knocking down some trees that it had to go through. Well, we'll see. Okay, so we worked our way around and ended up double dialing. Second guy with the Pennsylvania started the habit of doing improvements, and everybody else followed. So we've got the Penn actually improved. He improved Pittsburgh, which drove his price up. The double players for the New York Central were able to bring their price, their dividend value almost as high. Of course, these people are sharing their dividend values as opposed to, say, the C&O and the B&O, who get to sit on the whole value. We'll see how that all works out. Let's open up. We're going to pay out the dividends here. The New York Central makes 15, which means it's going to be 8 for each, whereas the Penn makes 17. That'll be 9 for each, and the 2 independently held ones are worth $10 each. I'll pay that money out, set things up for the next round. Detroit goes up, and then I'll start another round. All right, so the B&O owner he's the sole owner because he has the only certificate. In a bit of a conundrum here. He's got all the dials open for him, but he's got no cash sitting in the B&O. And at this point, he needs to get an influx of cash, whether it's his own or someone else's. It doesn't matter too much. If he wants to improve the value of his holding beyond making $10 every investment phase, he's got to get more money into it. Now, somebody's liable to do that anyway, but he can't really count on it because people who are holding other certificates will. So he's going to kick off an auction. This is the first one we've seen in a while on the B&O certificate. He doesn't need to guarantee that he gets it. He just needs to get that money in there. He'd like to get it. If he's putting his own money in and making his own money, hey, great. But if somebody else is willing to pay more than he is for half the B&O, at this point half, eventually it's not necessarily, it's only a quarter. Hey, that's great, So that certificate went to the guy who has the C&O. He paid $17 for it, which isn't a terribly high price. It's just that B&O isn't that valuable, and half of it is less valuable when a lot of the people have ownership in other companies that they would like to float money into. Now, he would like to have put money into the C&O, but he's still got some cash there to expand with. It's going to be his turn next. The next 2 players are the Pennsylvania Railroad players. The first one chugged up into Cleveland, driving the profits up a little higher. And then the other one increased Pittsburgh up to the full $8 value, driving them even higher. What's important about Cleveland is this kind of cuts the NYC off. Not completely, obviously. But they can't just branch through Cleveland. They've got to come down through Youngstown in order to find a place where they can build track to get towards Chicago. That's huge. There's sort of a race element here that I wasn't aware was going to be there. It should have been, because Pompous kind of has it too. But it's so much clearer with, like, these pieces on the board than, like, the lines drawn. To me, the components are helping the game tremendously. So I kind of misspoke there. The planes, you can run multiple companies through. So it would be more expensive for the NYC to cut through Cleveland and through a Plains Hex, but not absolutely impossible. They don't have to cut their way down here. In fact, there's no real ugly move that the pen could make. Going around, the NYC had ended up building its track to there, but then the second player with NYC shares built up Buffalo, increasing its value. B&O tracked his way out. C&O has done that as well, if I didn't mention that. Then we get to the pen owner, and he decides to float a share. And he puts $24, which is enough to shut out the other pen owner. Gets outbid with exactly what he has, because again, money's open. $26 by the guy who had the B&O, and now the pen is held. I mean, everybody's got all three shares are gone, which means all that track building, all that bonus, whatever. This guy paid a premium compared to what the original investors did, but he's now equally invested in the company and has an extra certificate on them, which may be important. It's hard to tell. He doesn't have a lot of cash, so if they get chances at other auctions, they may be able to buy something as well. But certainly the price of a premium company has been set here. Not sure everything should go at that rate, but it's hard to make the determination. I mean, it's real easy to say, I can outbid anybody and just throw down the money. It's hard to say, is it worth that? And that's one of the tricky thoughts in this game. Okay, so now we go to the next pen owner. And that's all he's got. He doesn't have a great deal of cash, so putting a share up might not be the best move. But on the other hand, he's just helping other people along with himself if he improves the pen at this point. He wants the pen to improve, but he also wants more certificates. Well, he was hoping to get something in the mid-teens range. He put a C&O out because there are better things out there. He ended up paying almost all his money, $23 for that C&O certificate. Now, he only has a third of the C&O right now. I think he overspent. But he was not going to probably be able to get an NYC certificate, which would have certainly been worth the money in his view. B&O looked so inferior to C&O, and he just got caught up in this, I must have a certificate. That's the last stock sale for this sequence around, so maybe it is worth quite a bit more than it would be otherwise, just because he's not going to have any chance of gaining ground on this guy. This guy could have gone with the B&O, but he thinks the C&O is a better investment. It certainly is worth more right now. B&O has a nice positional advantage, I think. But all right, and well, the C&O owner could end this right now. He has no cash. Seems like it might be a good idea, and he can expand his C&O. The other option would be to leave it up to the NYC to end things. no reason to give him an advantage that way. So might as well expand since the C&O has lots of money. Far and away the best money was made by the guy who has the pen in the B&O. He pulled in $17 total, a third of the Pennsylvania, and all alone with his B&O. That's one of the disadvantages of of putting out shares of his company, is he's getting that full value, and it wouldn't have expanded much. But you got to keep in mind, hurting other people is one thing and great and all, but you want to make sure you make money as well. So it's a shame that he's ahead from this guy's point of view, but he didn't do too badly himself at 13, which, I didn't see this. Oh, that changes things dramatically. So that brings him only down to 12, and he's at 17. Because he had 2 of these worth 6 each, and 1 of these worth 5. I didn't realize he had a B&O. All right. Well, I'm going to send this one up again just because I like the 10-minute videos, and if I can stop there, that's cool. So who just went? The C&O owner just went, which means it's going to go here. The poor NYC owners are at $10 each, which is kind of crappy. Of course, the poor guy who started the pen only made 7. But yeah, so I mean, yeah, the 3 people who had the big railroads at the earliest are kind of doing the worst. They paid big money early, got an early investment in those companies, but they didn't do well enough with them to make up for what they spent on them. And I guess there's just you have to figure out that balance, and you have to really know it. And it's not all that far apart, really. I mean, a few bucks spent here means you don't get the choice share later, but more money in your treasury, you might be able to make more income off of it. Nothing's been starved except the B&O, and the guy who played the B&O isn't in terrible shape, although he floated an extra certificate in order and wasted a turn essentially in giving someone else a certificate of it. All right, well, Detroit goes up, and these little spinners go back. They're cool. I mean, just not a necessary thing, but they're cool. You know, if I'm going to pay the kind of money that the Winsome games go for, I'm much happier getting the components that come with this. That's all. You know. All right. Well, no one really pushed too hard. The pen could have pushed harder to get to Chicago, and they chose not to. They still got a few bucks in their treasury, no doubt. Send this one up.